You probably don't think of witchcraft when you think of health and wellness, but you can actually incorporate your craft into all the dimensions of wellness, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to the w.a.v.e. Wellness Podcast. I'm your witchy, autistic, vegan, NB host, Lauren McNabb, the Green Mage. Together, we'll explore wellness beyond the mainstream, guided by the lens of intersectional feminism. Get ready for a magical journey. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, it's Lauren McNabb, the Green Mage with Green Mage Wellness. I have a new sticker on my mic. I'm going to show you guys. Oh wait, it goes like this. My favorite local drag king, King Arsenic. Be sure to check them out on Instagram, Facebook. So it is Wednesday, March 12th. I'm a little tired. It took me a long time to read that date. I'm a little tired. It's 8:30 at night, but that's not why I'm tired. I actually started a new job. I don't remember if I had started the last time I talked to you guys a couple weeks ago. It feels very new. I've lost track of time. I couldn't tell you what my first day was. Actually, I think it was a couple weeks ago when I was recording my last podcast. They were supposed to call me that night, and it ended up falling through. So, as you know, I am a licensed massage therapist. I work for myself from home, which is amazing. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. And I don't want to say I got invited, but I heard about a job overnight at a poker room or poker club. I think it's called a poker club. So it's a new poker club in Corpus Christi. Shout out to Bay 361 Poker Club, where it pays to play. And I go out there and I do massages for the players at the table mostly, which is really cool because I just get to sit and watch poker games. I don't know how to play poker. I understand the gist of it, and it's entertaining to watch and hear everyone kind of roast each other constantly. These players clearly know each other. And as an autistic person, it's really scary going into new places, meeting new people. But I got a really good vibe from the owner. The first time we talked, he answered my questions really thoroughly. And, he didn't have any problem answering my questions. And I'm the kind of person that needs answers. And he was very thorough with his answers and very polite. And, the building itself is in a really good part of town, well-lit parking lot. It's very bright in there. It's not shady at all, right? You think a poker room, you think of a dark room with cigarette smoke and dim lighting. But no, there's big screen TVs and there's snacks and sodas. I actually haven't had any of the snacks. I haven't had any of the sodas. I think about Diet Coke every now and then, but I'm okay. There's people drinking alcohol, but I'm okay around that. I've been sober at least since January 1st. So a little over 60 days sober for me. And, but it's fine. It doesn't bother me to be around at all. They're all also eating pizza and tacos. And I'm not tempted to eat those, obviously. But the only caveat is a lot of these games are overnight. So I've been going in at 7 o'clock or later and then staying until midnight or even as late as 5 a.m., which is a little wild. I'm not a morning person, but I can stay up late. It's that transition that kills me, right? So if I'm already up, I could stay up, but being asleep and then waking up, that's really hard for me. So if I'm a little slow with some of my words today, that's why. And as much as I don't want to record this podcast while I'm sleepy and kind of not fully present, because I want to be fully present for you guys, this is the only day and time I have to record this, and I want to stay really consistent with it. So Wednesday night it is, and then I edit on Thursday, and then my husband does the color correcting and the sound correcting. But yeah, I've been really super busy. Work is starting to pick back up a little bit, thank goodness. After the freeze, it slowed down a little bit. We had my husband's birthday this past weekend. My grandpa also died this past weekend. It was pretty sudden. Not a grandpa I'm close with. He lives in Dallas. It's my mom's dad. My mom's mom passed away before I was born, so I never met her. We only went up to Dallas like once a year at the most growing up. I lived up there for a little while. Didn't really see family that much, maybe around the holidays. And I haven't really seen anyone since, we've been up maybe twice since my son was born. So even my mom's like, okay, she's like, I'm not as close with him as like my sister is. And then she also has 2 stepsisters because he divorced my grandmother and got remarried. Family drama. Not going to get into it, but all the sisters are close now. It's not a big deal, but it was very sudden. He had a couple strokes, and then they put him in a home because my step grandmother just couldn't handle it anymore. And then my mom went up there this weekend to visit because it was my niece's 2nd birthday party. My niece's birthday is the day after mine, on the 27th. My birthday's on the 26th this month. But she had a birthday party early for reasons for their family. And my mom visited him that morning because he wasn't doing well, and he passed away that afternoon, from my understanding. So it was the day that she visited. And I am trained as a death doula. I'm a certified death doula. And a lot of the stories I read, this is actually really common, that people will wait for their loved ones. They'll wait for them to visit. They'll wait until they can say their goodbyes. Because a lot of people worry, right? Like, what if I miss their death? And that does happen too. And that's nothing that you should blame yourself for. Yes, obviously, your feelings are valid if you're upset or you feel like you let your loved one down by not being there. I know we saw a lot of that during COVID, obviously. But that aside, it is really common. Even when patients are basically unconscious, they will wait until they've said their goodbyes. And so I believe that's what happened. My mom is the oldest, and so she was his firstborn, and all the other family lives in Dallas. So she was kind of the last one that needed to go visit him. And then he passed away that afternoon. So I am glad that she got to see him one last time. And she's back home now. And I talked to her today, and she's doing good. But yeah, been a little crazy busy. And, and maybe you're really busy too, right? Winter's kind of finally starting to thaw out in most places of the country. Politics has been absolutely insane. That's all I'm going to say about that. As of today, this recording, Trump made his Tesla commercial yesterday. And today I'm hearing about RFK cutting funding for grants, a grant that we personally benefit from as farmers that have local produce. A big chunk of our income monthly comes from the local public schools using the Local Foods in Schools grant. That's a USDA grant that allows schools to buy produce from local farmers, not just these giant distributors that are shipped across the country. And now that's going away. So yeah. Luckily one of the schools, it's a pretty good school in a pretty good area. And she's like, oh, I'll buy this regardless of a grant. But not all of them, right? A lot of these go to low income schools. And we do have another school that is a lot lower income compared to that one. The school was actually in an area that was just devastated by wildfires, because it's been super dry and super windy. And they do depend on those grants. And they're being taken away. So why would a farmer ever vote Republican? I don't know. Because it comes down to them being conservative Christians. However, when you look at what the Republicans are actually doing, especially in this administration, you're actually screwing yourself and all of us over. So thanks for that. I did not vote for that, for the record. So with everything going on, let's not forget to take care of ourselves. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I don't even really want to call this self-care, because that's kind of a whole different topic. what we're going to talk about is wellness. So it is self-care, but it's a bunch of other stuff too, right? Because self-care looks different for everybody. Self-care could be anything from taking a bubble bath to going to therapy to, taking those steps to get healthier, eating nutritious food, et cetera, getting sober. Self-care, or having a drink of wine, right? Like self-care looks different for everybody. But I'm going to talk from a health coach perspective today. So as a health and wellness coach, I focus on the dimensions of wellness. These are all areas that a health coach can help you improve on or build healthy habits to improve on. So just really briefly, the dimensions of wellness include physical health or wellness. Health or wellness is kind of interchangeable for all of these. So we'll just say health. Physical health, spiritual health, social health or social wellness, emotional wellness, financial health or wellness, environmental health, intellectual health, cultural wellness, occupational wellness. Okay, that's all I have written down. So there's all these dimensions of health, right? So when people think of health, they think of just their physical body, right? They think diet and exercise. Maybe you think mental health as well. You think going to therapy, but there's actually so much else to it that goes into health and wellness, right? When we talk wellness, we're talking holistic wellness. I know that word gets thrown around a lot, right? The word holistic and the word wellness. Let's talk about that just really briefly as an aside. Wellness influencers are messing it up for the rest of us. Consider me a wellness de-influencer, okay? Because I focus on science-based, evidence-based facts, evidence-based practices, science in general. But a lot of wellness influencers are out here saying, don't listen to that. Don't listen to the science. Don't listen to doctors. You actually need this supplement instead. You shouldn't be taking that medication, blah, 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 blah. None of them seem to have any qualifications for saying these things. They might be coaches. They might be nutritionists, because those are not regulated professions. I think you can even call yourself a doctor without having a PhD in medicine. And I don't have a PhD in anything. I don't even think doctor is a protected title. I think there's functional medicine doctors that call themselves doctors. I think there's Ayurvedic doctors that call themselves doctors. You're not a doctor. You can be a nutritionist without any kind of qualifications. I call myself a nutritionist, but it's mostly to the people that wouldn't really understand the difference between a registered dietitian, a nutritionist, a nutrition coach, that kind of thing. I'm actually a nutrition coach because I really shouldn't be giving people meal plans or anything either. I'm not qualified to do that. But if you want to go vegan, I can help you go vegan. If you want to eat Ayurvedically, I can help you go Ayurvedically. I have certificates for these things. And I have a health and wellness coach certificate. I don't have a nutritionist or a nutrition certification yet. It's definitely on the list of things to do. Hopefully next year I want to take a plant-based nutrition course, maybe even a regular nutrition course through like ISSA, just so I kind of know what everyone else is out there teaching. But again, look for these people's credentials, right? If someone's telling you to stop doing something and do this instead, and it's something you have to buy, that's a red flag. There are some really good wellness de-influencers, we'll say, on Instagram that I really like. A lot of them are nutritionists. Some of them aren't. Some of them just like to debunk the BS. And I'm all for that. So I kind of hate that I have wellness in my name, but whatever. It's been Green Mage Wellness for a few years now, before the wellness influencer wave really started. And I just really think people misuse the word wellness. I don't know. They're including things like, like the keto diet and intermittent fasting and, fad diet. We'll just say fad diets. They're doing things like fad diets. They're doing things like parasite cleanses and, not taking medication and drinking raw milk and eating raw meat. Like it's gotten real wacky out there, you guys. If something seems really extreme, it probably is. If something's giving you the ick, it probably should. And to be honest, that's actually the podcast I wanted to make today, but I wanted to be a little bit less sleepy and a little bit more researched before I jump into that. Because there's this whole movement of like the crunchy to alt-right pipeline. And a lot of that comes from these wellness influencers that are now pro-MAHA, make America healthy again. I'm not sure how taking local produce away from children is making them healthier. I'm not sure how banning vaccines makes us healthier. I'm not sure how removing food access and removing healthcare makes us healthier. So that's what the wellness influence girlies are doing right now. And I need to make a whole podcast on that too, because it's pissing me off. And so, I think I maybe mentioned to y'all last time, when it comes to everything that's going on in politics, just to kind of pick one or two topics to focus on, because you can't take it all in. And so that's why I'm really focusing on the health and wellness stuff and debunking the misinformation and speaking out against it. There's a lot of people that are a lot smarter than me talking about it too. But I'm just here to say, like, I'm right there with you. It's ticking me off too. But anyways, what does this have to do with witchcraft? There's a lot of women who appear witchy, but are just actually crunchy. And they say they're spiritual, but then they kind of end up going back to Christianity. And just, like I said, end up alt-right. So just because someone looks like me and has colored hair and a nose piercing and tattoos doesn't mean they're a safe person. Just because someone says they're a feminist, they could still be a TERF. Just because someone's gay doesn't mean they're a safe person either. So just be really careful who you talk to. Listen to what these people are saying. Do you hear conspiracy theories coming out of their mouth? Do you hear them praising Trump or praising RFK? And like I've said before, missing the forest for the trees. Are they worried about taking fluoride out of water when most of the country doesn't have clean drinking water? Are they worried about are they all for taking vaccines away when most of us don't even have health care? Are they wanting to, defund the USDA because it's wasteful spending when most people don't have access to fresh produce? Yeah, focusing on the wrong things, you guys. But that's another podcast for another day. We're going to get into the dimensions of wellness, and it's kind of twofold. It's how does your craft fit in with these dimensions of wellness, and how can you use your craft to promote your own wellness? So let's just jump right into it. So the first dimension of wellness I do want to talk about is our physical health and wellness. It's what everyone thinks of when they think of health, right? And it's a big part of it for sure, right? Because all of these things are intertwined. All of these things affect each other. A lot of the times the symptoms show up as health symptoms. So if you're struggling maybe financially, emotionally, intellectually, it's probably going to show up as a physical symptom eventually, right? If you're struggling financially, you're going to feel anxiety. If you're struggling intellectually, maybe you're going to feel bored or brain fog. They all overlap and intersect. And I think that's why it's really cool to work with a health coach, because we don't just focus on those certain things. We look at everything together. We look at the person as a whole, which is why we say holistic. Holistic doesn't mean anti-medicine or all natural. I think that a lot of people think holistic really just means like the person as a whole, inside and out, mental, physical, spiritual, everything. It's a whole dance. It all intersects together, right? So intersectional wellness would be another, maybe better way to say it even. I like that. Intersectional wellness. So the first one, physical health. So it can be just very physical things such as your skincare, your bubble baths, doing yoga, using natural skincare, plant-based skincare, maybe something you made yourself, right? Maybe think about like some glamour magic, thinking about using like crystals in your bathroom by your mirror. The skincare I use is made locally by local farmers with natural ingredients. I get some from a farm. I get some from an apothecary. So just thinking about like using all natural skincare, using essential oils, that would be a way to bring your craft into your skincare, just from a physical aspect. And again, maybe adding crystals in there or adding herbs, not necessarily for their skin benefit, but also for their spiritual, mental, emotional benefit as well, right? Like lavender is good for the skin, calming the skin, but it's also good for calming you. Just one example. Another thing that I really do that I've learned, and capitalism doesn't like when we do this, which probably means we should be doing it more, is honoring cycles. And Ayurveda talks about this too, but not just honoring our menstrual cycle if you're someone that has a menstrual cycle, but just honoring the cycles of the moon and of the month. Because please correct me if I'm wrong, but I would assume, I'm just assuming, that whether you menstruate or not, you are still affected by the moon cycles, especially if you were born in a female body, because our hormones fluctuate monthly, and maybe they follow the moon, maybe they don't. If you're on birth control, they probably don't. Your hormones are being altered, so they're not going to have that natural ebb and flow. If you are around other female bodies, other menstruating bodies, that's why they say, right? Like our periods sync up, right? My period will sync up with anything. I mean, Bluetooth is so insecure. I need to put a password on that Wi-Fi, because anytime I've worked somewhere with other women, my period is just all over the place. Like literally whoever I was around more that week or that month, that's who I start to sync up with. My period was never regular. But then I started working from home, and I'm only around clients for like an hour at a time. And I haven't been on any birth control in a long time, like since before my son was born. I just do the copper IUD now, so nothing hormonal. My period started to regulate with the moon cycles since I moved home. And some people say that's a myth. I don't know. Like, you really think it's a coincidence? I get my period on the new moon every month. I don't know. Could be, I guess. But our cycles are about 28 days, and the moon cycle is 28 days. So I don't know. Maybe it is a coincidence. You tell me in the comments. If you're not on any birth control, on any hormonal birth control, if you are of menstruating age and gender, if you don't work around other women, does your cycle line up with the moon? And it's really interesting because I think I need to track it a little bit better, but this is what I tell people because I'm pretty sure this is what happens, is half the year I start my period on the new moon, and then the other half of the year I start on the full moon. I feel like it flip-flops with the season change. Like the winter and then the summer solstice, I feel like it starts to switch. Anyone else? Just me? Am I making that up? I don't know. But for sure, right now, I'm synced up with the new moon. And so that's fun. And so, I mean, my husband knows what to expect and knows that, oh, she's being a little grumpy. And he just takes it because he knows, you know what, it's just that week where I'm not very happy about anything. And we have to honor that. I mean, it sucks. It sucks to have really bad PMS. But what we can do is nourish our bodies. We can move our bodies. I eat a lot of very red foods around that time. I'll put beet powder and stuff. I'll have some, pink Swiss chard, those kind of foods that are super high in antioxidants. Pomegranate juice or pomegranate's another really good one. red-skinned apples, purple sweet potatoes, anything like that with a really rich red color is going to be really high in antioxidants, but it's also really good for heart health, blood health, and therefore menstrual health. So I've noticed that when I do that, my cramps are not as bad. Like those like day before cramps. Really don't notice those. My mood is a bit better as well. So yeah, just kind of using nature. And I'm not saying I don't use a heating pad and Tylenol if I really need it. Day 2 especially. But for PMS, definitely eat some red foods. But honor that. If you're tired, maybe try to make your schedule a little bit lighter. Take more naps. It's okay. Don't push yourself because capitalism says you have to. I know a lot of people work 9 to 5s and you got to keep going and you have kids and, you have school and you have work. But just, if you need that chocolate, eat that chocolate. If you need that ice cream, eat that ice cream. If you need to sit around with a heating pad all night and order dinner instead of cooking dinner, do that. Honor what your body is telling you to do. And so there's also yearly cycles, right? So in the winter, things slow down a little bit. Maybe we gain a little bit of weight. We're eating heartier foods. And then springtime rolls around. We're starting to wake up, move a little bit more, go outside more, eat lighter foods. And that goes hand in hand with Ayurveda as well. But we need to honor that. You don't need to be eating salads and running 5 miles a day in the winter. We're just not meant to do that, you guys. I know fitness, physical fitness is really important to people. But, maybe look at switching up your fitness routine. Maybe in the winter, we're a little bit more cozy with it. Maybe we still lift weights, but maybe we do a little bit more restorative yoga versus vinyasa. Looking at my notes here, but, during the new moon, that's when we're setting our intentions. That's like the beginning, right? The new moon is when we're starting over. We set our intentions then, and then the full moon, we celebrate what has come to fruition, right? It's kind of like the high point of the cycle. So just something to keep in mind as well. That was a lot. I'm trying to not take forever to get through these. My husband's on his way home with dinner, so we'll be a little bit quicker with the rest of them. But if you want to know more about anything, drop a comment. I can make a whole video about any one of these topics. Not necessarily a podcast, but I'll just make a YouTube video for it because my YouTube videos end up super long because I get yappy. But I can make like a 20-minute one. And then, if you have questions about doing any of these for yourself, I do offer health and wellness coaching, and we can definitely help get you set up for success if you want to make changes in any of these aspects. So spiritual wellness is another really big one that I think a lot of people discount. It's kind of like you're religious or you're not, you go to church or you don't. And I think people really discount the importance of it. Especially if you're not religious, or especially if you're atheist. You might think, well, I'm an atheist. I don't have any kind of spirituality. Well, maybe atheism is your belief and you connect with those kind of people. I think a lot of it has to do with just connection. As humans, we crave connection. And so spirituality and religion is about connecting to that source energy that surrounds all of us and everything. It could be connecting with a deity. It could be connecting with your community. It's about connection. And as humans, that's just something we really need. And so obviously your craft is going to come into play with that, whether you have a deity you work with or you're just a secular witch. What your witchcraft practice itself, I think, can fulfill that need of spiritual wellness. So do make sure you take time to practice your craft. Maybe you get away from it for a little bit. Life gets busy, but then maybe you just do something simple. It doesn't even have to be every day. Maybe once a week. Journaling, lighting a candle, setting an intention, saying an affirmation, lighting incense. You can work it into other stuff. It doesn't have to be a whole big thing, but I do think some kind of practice regularly, even if it's not super often, but having some kind of regular practice. Maybe it's every new moon you burn incense. Just something I think is important to keep up our spiritual wellness. And there's also social wellness that kind of goes into that as well, because again, people can use their spirituality to build their social circle. And, being in a coven, obviously that can fulfill that. You will have a group that you meet regularly with and work with. I think that's great. But even without a coven, you can still meet other people through your practice. You can go to witchy events. I went, or classes. I went to a tea leaf reading class. That was really cool. I haven't necessarily stayed in touch with anyone, but just being there in the moment with other like-minded people was really cool. It was really validating. I really felt, kind of at home with these people, and it was just really fun. And that's not really something I would normally do. I don't really go out or anything. So doing something that I was comfortable with around people I was comfortable with because we share similar beliefs was really cool. There's also, maybe markets in your area, vendor shows, but for specifically kind of witchy or spiritual things, or just going to other vendor shows and finding those people, right? Finding the people that sell the crystal jewelry or pendants. Maybe there's a tarot card reader somewhere. So going to events, even if it's a shopping event or some kind of community event, and finding those witchy practitioners. And that could be someone that you connect with. Even if you stop and talk for 5 minutes, even if you don't buy anything, just having that conversation with that like-minded person is really cool. You could go to things like drum circles. That again, maybe those people aren't necessarily witches, but you're connecting with the moon usually, right? They usually do new moon or full moon drum circles. There's full moon yoga, things like that. So maybe these people don't necessarily identify the same way you do, but you have similar interests. And maybe one of those interests is, honoring nature or music or, creative arts, things like that. So yeah. So, just think about those kind of things in your community. Because, I'm 36. How do you make friends? That's how I make friends. I think I've met all my friends kind of through business ventures and things like that, and at these events and stuff. The people I'm closest with now, we connected through our business. Either they came to me for a massage, or I came to them for a service, or we met at an event, or we worked an event together. That's pretty much all my friends right now. Yeah, so just some ideas. If you have any other ideas for how to meet witches socially, please let me know. And so emotional wellness. I think your craft is really good at this, or it should be. If you're not doing emotional work with your craft, I don't really think you're getting into it enough. Hot take, I know. Sorry, not to push judgment on anyone, but just think about shadow work, right? It's not all love and light. We have to get in and dig down and do the shadow work. And that is huge for your emotional wellness because it helps you process things. Now, shadow work can look like journaling. I literally have that shadow work journal that went viral on TikTok, remember? It's really good, even if it was written by AI. So something like that, or just journaling, period. Sitting with and processing your emotions. It can look like going to therapy. So there's lots of different ways to do shadow work. And, sometimes it could just be sitting and meditating and feeling your feelings. That's witchcraft. That's shadow work. That's emotional wellness. Yoga and meditation are really good for this as well. Financial wellness. So that might, really not be something you think about financial health, and you think about what does your portfolio look like? What does your bank account look like? What do your investments look like? But when I am talking financial wellness, yes, I am talking, your financial situation. But as far as your craft goes, it plays into that, right? Who hasn't made a money jar? Who doesn't have a money jar at home, right? Who hasn't done a money spell or made money powder? Or I have a cash flow oil from my friend that has her own witchcraft store. I put that everywhere. Before I go to the poker room, I wash with my money soap. I say a little affirmation, and I get my my cash flow oil, and I dab it around. I put it on my wrists, which is also maybe why when people get massages with me, they start winning the next few hands. I don't know. I'm just saying. Magic touch, right? I don't know. I'm just saying. Um, so you can use witchcraft to manifest money, right? Using the law of attraction, manifesting things, showing gratitude for what you have so you get more. You can also just manifest opportunities, new job opportunities, or just, broadly opportunities. I attract financial opportunity, something like that. So having a money jar at home, doing money spells, doing those spells on a Thursday, which is ruled by Jupiter. So both of those are correspondences for money and financial health. So I could do a different episode on, how to improve your financial health, but just speaking as far as how you can use your craft for that. Environmental health and wellness. So this is a big one where I live. I live on the Gulf of Mexico, and you can quote me on that. But technically, I live on Corpus Christi Bay, and we have a lot of refineries here. Oil refineries, I assume they are. I guess they do different petrochemical refineries. Yes, it's as bad as it sounds. It fucking stinks outside all the time. The air quality sucks here. And they're using all our freaking water. We are in a stage 3 drought. And the refineries have been trying to get us, yes, us, like the people that live here that pay the water bills. They've been trying to get us to pay for them to build a desalination plant. And you're like, well, that doesn't sound bad if you're in a stage 3 drought. Don't you need the water? No. They want the water. The water is for them. The water is for the refineries. We can have access to it when we're in a stage 4 drought. But do you know what happened in the other cities in Texas when they built like extra power plants for the crypto mining? The people paid for the power, but the crypto mining was able to sell it back to the city when they needed the electricity. So I have a feeling the same shit is going to happen here. Don't you? Don't you think that if we paid for the refineries to build a desalination plant, which means they're taking water from the bay, turning it into fresh water, using the fresh water. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm pretty sure they use like 1 million gallons a day. They use more than anyone in the city combined. There's like 5 refineries here. And then they spit the salt back out into the bay. That is going to fuck up the environment. That is going to kill the fish and everything else living there. That is going to kill the fishing tourism we have here. The dolphins are going to fucking leave. No more dolphin tours. It's going to fuck shit up. And the city's been super sneaky about it. And the city council's been super shady about it. They're not even allowing public comment anymore. They won't allow us to peacefully protest. The news barely talks about it. It's been real fucking shady. It's been really shady. Every single one of those city council people, except for one, has taken money from the refineries and their PACs. And they're like BFFs with the port. So the port is bringing in and shipping out more shit. I assume oil. I know they ship weapons out. Because the Army Depot is right there too. We're one of the major ports, like, in the country. And Corpus Christi, Texas hardly gets talked about. I don't know how. I don't know how it's not national news that our bay is being destroyed, that we're building a huge bridge so we can make the port bigger, basically. Yeah. Where's Aaron Brockovich? For real. So shout out to my comrades that are out there fighting this, because I don't have time. Because you know when city council meetings are? Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Yeah. So, environmental wellness could be going to a city council meeting and fighting for your local environment. I know that would make me feel better if I could be there. I'm all worked up now, guys. I'm sorry. I'll calm down. But yeah, so in environmental wellness, as far as your craft goes, would be honoring nature and working with nature. Spending time in nature can be very healing. I clearly need to go touch some grass. I don't even think I've been outside other than to my car and back in a week. It could be things like working with river gods and giving them offerings. It could be going outside and hugging a tree. That's really good for you. Like, that's how you dissipate your negative ions, positive ions. I don't know. It's a really good way to ground. Hugging a tree is a really good way to ground, actually. Using herbs for your spells or in the kitchen, right? But also being environmentally conscious, doing things like recycling, composting, gardening, not using things that are endangered, like not burning white sage, especially because that's a closed practice. But either way, bad for the environment because you're using ingredients that are basically almost gone. I'm not mirrored, I'm flipped, so I keep touching my hair on the wrong side. Can you tell I was up late last night? Yeah, but even things like attending a beach cleanup, that would be really good for not only the local environment, but like your own environmental wellness, right? Like feeling good about taking care of your local environment. It could also be things like getting an electric car, getting solar panels, using your reusable bags, all those things that like maybe in the grand scheme of things don't make a huge difference because of big industry polluting and everything. I'm pretty sure there was just another oil spill. But you know what? For your own environmental wellness, go ahead and do those things. Bring your reusable straws to the restaurants. Do what you got to do to make it at least feel like you're making an impact. Maybe go volunteer, for like a local animal rescue, that kind of thing. Go watch turtles being hatched. I've lived in Corpus my whole life. I've never done that because I can't get up in the mornings and the turtles hatch at like 5:45 a.m. Anyways, moving on to intellectual wellness. This is a big one. And I think witchcraft is really good about helping with this too, because we're always learning, right? Like maybe you have your special interests. Like I read tarot, but I'd like to learn more about astrology. And so intellectual wellness is basically just keeping yourself stimulated intellectually. So it could be, something like learning a different aspect, and it could be reading a book or, watching a new YouTuber, you following a new creator. Hey, what's up? I hope you feel intellectually stimulated after this. At least I'm trying to at least give you a different way to think about things, right? These are all dimensions of wellness, and this is how your craft can help. That's the point of this video. So please subscribe. Thank you. But yeah, I do tarot. I want to learn more about astrology. It could be learning about different crystals. It could be looking at the crystals you have and looking up, all their properties. I mean, it could be something as simple as that, right? You can go into a rabbit hole at night in bed, scrolling on your phone, or you can really actually deep dive and go get some books from the library or shop at your local, mom and pop bookstore or witchy store. Really good places to get books. You could, try a new spell. Maybe you have books that have just been sitting there and you haven't gotten into them or you haven't gotten back to them. Maybe it's time to try a new spell. or try a different kind of spell, right? Like I always do like spell jars. Like maybe I do like a candle spell this time. All those things can be really intellectually stimulating. And I think just learning more as far as our craft is a really good way to stay intellectually stimulated and help our intellectual wellness. Cultural, that's a really big one. So obviously cultural wellness is how you connect with your own culture. Do you feel included in it? Do you feel like you're honoring it? And witchcraft is a really great way to do that. I live in South Texas, so there's a lot of witches here with Mexican heritage. They have resources to, kind of connect with that kind of folk magic aspect of it. Catholicism is really witchy. I'd like to do a whole episode on that, honestly. I've read some of those like Mexican folk magic books as well. Didn't connect with me, but it was still neat to read about and learn about. Personally, I'm Japanese, so, Reiki is of Japanese origin, and that was really kind of not discovered, I would say, but really kind of recrafted by a Japanese woman. But yeah, so just leaning into your culture's craft, right? There's kind of folk magic from everywhere, from the Americas, from, England and Ireland, African magic, wherever your ancestors are from, I can guarantee you there's witchcraft there because we've been around forever and we ain't going anywhere. As hard as they try, we're not going anywhere. So yeah, I think, cultural practices are really important, and that could be things like holidays. It could be things like recipes and meals, but it can also be things like your craft and leaning into that. So, maybe try to find some books by authors that have the same cultural background as you, and whether you practice what they do or not, at least you're supporting them and learning a little bit more. I think that's a really good way to honor your culture. So, last topic to kind of round everything out is occupational wellness. Now, I don't want to say I save the best for last, but I think work is such a big part of so many of our lives, right? Other than family life, aren't most of us working most of the time? I'm working right now. So, there's two aspects for this. You can take your existing job or career and find ways to bring magic into it, or you can just take your magic and build it into a career. So there's a couple different things you can do here. So say you're working your 9 to 5. Let's just imagine here that maybe you're a teacher, or you work in an office, or you're a nurse. I don't know. What do people do? I don't know. What are jobs? Just you're a job. You work for someone, right? I guess is what I'm saying. You can still set your intention before the workday. You can say affirmations about your job. You can manifest promotions. You can do spell work around your job to keep you safe, to send protections to your patients, to your students. Maybe you wear your crystals at work. Maybe you keep it tucked in your scrubs because everyone else has a cross necklace on and you don't want to be the odd one out. And that's totally fair. You don't ever want to do anything that's going to make you a target, especially in careers where it's frowned upon. I know teaching is a big one, especially in red states. You can bring your books to work with you and read your books on break. You can, make some tea. Maybe you have a special tea that you make that you can have before work or on break. Maybe you have some crystals on your desk if it's safe to do so. So yeah, there's just, no matter what your occupation is, there's still ways to bring magic and bring your craft into it, as long as you're doing it mindfully in a way that's going to keep you safe. Because I know it's not safe to be yourself everywhere in this country. In fact, it's probably not safe to be yourself in most places, unfortunately. But now the other aspect is turning your craft into your job, like being paid to do tarot readings, numerology, astrology. I know several people that like do birth charts for people and interpret them. And they usually do other things too, but that's a big one, is birth charts. You could do crafts, arts and crafts. I know it makes it sound very reductive. Is that the word? But I love me some arts and crafts. All right. So, paintings. I've done some paintings of like sacred geometry. I just have kind of some witchy paintings I've done. Making jewelry, making crystal crowns. I've seen those. Those are really cool. Or selling crystal jewelry. Like I got this one from a local store, but I have a lot of other crystal pendant necklaces from another vendor, or just selling crystals, or selling herbs, or selling teas. There's just a lot of different things. I've personally in my spa sold spell jars and sold scrubs that I had Reiki infused that had crystals in them. I sold candles that another girl made. And so just little things like that, right? You could totally make a business out of that. And then things like being a Reiki practitioner or a sound healer. Not everyone that does those things is a witch, but I do think witchy people are attracted to those kind of jobs. Maybe. Spiritual people. So as far as like other witchy jobs, I think massage therapist is a big one. I think any kind of like healer type of job, like a therapist, like a vet or a vet tech. There probably are some witchy doctors. Those are probably the like holistic doctors. Some of them. I'm still suspicious of a lot of holistic doctors because a lot of y'all went a little too far down the crunchy all right pipeline. But surely there are still some nice, wholesome, leftist, feminist doctors too, right? But something like a biologist or a marine biologist, gardeners and farmers, cooks and bakers. All of those are things that you could really work magic into. Absolutely. And health and wellness coaches. I think a lot of coaches, right? I think, me personally, I really do like to bring my craft. I kind of sprinkle it in to my work. I'll be honest, like 95% of what I do is just deep tissue massages, right? But I still have crystals in my room, which I think I've showed y'all or talked about. I have my singing bowl. I just got a little crystal broom. It's so cute, right? And so I'm using that to kind of sweep off negative energy off of people. I cleanse the room between clients. I do essential oils, all that kind of thing. I have plants in my room just to kind of have like a chill healing vibe. It also cleanses the air. And so, I kind of bring all those things into my practice a little bit. I do have a client that asked me to do a cord cutting for them the other day. I've done tarot readings for clients. Those are more like the friend clients that know I do those kind of things. I don't necessarily advertise those things. But I also do like a Reiki infusion into my massages if they ask for that. Or I can do sound healing before a massage also. So I kind of find ways to incorporate those. And as a health and wellness coach, I can help you with all of these aspects of health and wellness. So occupational, cultural, intellectual, environmental, financial, emotional, social, spiritual, and physical. And not necessarily, with your craft. If that's what you want to do, that's what we can work on for sure. but also just any aspects of these. I could definitely help if you want to just start eating better and exercising, but keeping all of these other things in mind. So that's going to wrap it up for today. Let me know what questions you have. Let me know maybe what aspect you want a little bit more information on. I do offer free consultations for health and wellness coaching. So even if you just, want to ask a bunch of questions and you're not even sure about anything, like that's totally cool. I do a free 30-minute chit chat. I'll put the link to schedule that in the comments. And let's see. What's your homework for today, you guys? I want you, if you are working, self-employed, have a job, I want you to find one way to incorporate your magic into that job or career. It could be something small. Maybe having a crystal in your pocket at work. It could be saying an affirmation before work. It could be grounding yourself after work. That's another really good one. Go outside and hug a tree. Maybe once everyone else has left, or when you get home, hug your own tree. Your trees at your house are very important. They're there to protect you. So that's my homework for you guys today. It's my suggestion, if you would like to take it, is try to incorporate just a little pinch of magic into your workday. That'll be all for now. Thanks for sticking with me. I hope everyone has a good rest of the week and stays grounded. Just remember to breathe, you guys. We're all in this together. Like and subscribe. Share this with a witchy friend. And I'll catch you guys in a couple weeks. Bye.